Welcome to Derm Clarity, Poor Decisions and Flake News. I'm Erica Ramos. I've spent over 21 years in healthcare. I'm a dermatology physician associate, doctorate of medical science, the founder of Restore Scalp, and the host of this podcast. I'm here to help you make sense of your skin without the hype. Just a quick note before we dive in. This podcast is for education only. It's not medical advice, and it doesn't replace the care you receive from your own provider. My goal is simple: to help you understand what's happening with your skin, hair, and nails, so you can make informed, confident decisions alongside your care team. Welcome back to Derm Clarity, Poor Decisions and Flake News. I'm Erica Ramos, a dermatology PA and doctor of medical science, and today we're talking about something slightly spicy. Did you know your skin is horny? I'm talking about the stratum corneum. Get your head out of the gutter. This outermost layer of your epidermis or your skin. So today we're peeling back every layer from the horny layer all the way down to the fat. The stratum corneum is the horny layer. This is your barrier. Think bricks and mortar. So the bricks are your cells. The mortar is the fat or the lipids. And what it does is it helps prevent water loss from our skin. Our skin is this barrier. It's not supposed to let things in, and it's not supposed to let things out. It's not supposed to let our moisture out. And so we want to prevent water loss from this layer. And like we said, block irritants and keep microbes from invading our skin. If you ever over exfoliate, it's literally like ripping shingles off of a roof during a rainstorm. So let's think about supporting this layer of our skin. For the horny layer of our skin, we want to use things like ceramide-rich moisturizers. They improve barrier repair and they reduce this water loss from our skin. So they're going to fill in all these gaps in our mortar and they're going to prevent any water from leaking out. We also want to think about using humectants. Those are like glycerin, hyaluronic acid. These will improve hydration. They recruit moisture, and so they're going to improve hydration into the stratum corneum. It's okay for us to do a little bit of controlled exfoliation. We do not want to over exfoliate because this barrier is there for a reason, and we don't need to get rid of all of that layer. One way that we can do that is to not mechanically exfoliate, but to actually use alpha hydroxy acids, beta hydroxy acids like glycolic, azelaic, salicylic to gently promote turnover of the skin without over exfoliating. And we can help smooth that texture out a little bit. Barrier first, always. There's a reason it's there. Like we said, we talked about, we don't want moisture out. We don't want invaders coming in. And the way that we protect that from happening is with that first line of defense in our skin. The second layer is our epidermis. And so that is made up of a few different layers. At the bottom of that layer, there is this base layer where all of our new baby skin cells are born. And those cells migrate up over about 28 days, maybe a little longer as we get older, but they kind of migrate up and then they come to that top layer where they flatten out and they become that stratum corneum. But so over that 28-day period, they're born and they're growing up, and it's like a conveyor belt. They're just kind of moving up to the top layer of the surface of our skin. So how do we support the epidermis? Well, this is where we can have retinoids that come in, and those still promote turnover of the cells, and they also can help with photoaging, meaning aging that happens as a result of the sun. We also could potentially consider using chemical peels to promote that turnover of skin again, to improve texture. And those are things that we can help to support the epidermis. So the dermis contains collagen, elastin, blood vessels, and nerves. Collagen is what gives us that firmness of the skin, and elastin is a little bit of that bounce. Some ways that we can work on our dermis is with microneedling, which stimulates collagen through controlled injury. I tell people all the time, it's like aerating your lawn. And I don't know if people do that anymore. Anybody out there, give me a thumbs up or a comment if you're still aerating your lawn. But it basically is poking holes in the lawn so that there's this nice, healthy growth that comes up through those little controlled areas of destruction. And so that's what microneedling does. That's what lasers do. And so we're promoting rebuilding to happen. And so microneedling, again, it's going to stimulate collagen through that controlled injury. And so are fractional lasers, and they're doing kind of the same thing. It's just a laser poking the holes instead of something physically poking holes in the microneedling. There's some other things that we can use alongside those types of treatments, and we've had a previous podcast that talked about this as well. Use exosomes. We can use platelet-rich plasma. We use those holes that we've just created through microneedling or through lasers, and we use that to get in these very beneficial exosomes that basically tell the skin, they're like little baby messengers telling the skin to act younger, to be healthier. And so those are something that's made versus PRP, which is something that is pulled from you. You get your blood drawn, the blood gets spun down to your platelet rich plasma. And in some cases, as we learned in our previous podcast, we can maybe even mix PRP alongside exosomes and get a really beautiful blend of things telling our scalp and our skin to act younger. Let's flash back to that podcast and listen to Jen Rice talk about exosomes just for a second.
They're the communicators between the cells. They don't have DNA in them. They just are either carrying fat or they're carrying like a protein or they're assisting cells. Like we have assistants in every sports team where it's like you don't make the basket, but you like assist the person that makes the basket. I kind of think about exosomes like that. It's not derived from another human. The way it's modulated in the lab is like it's built, but it's not carrying any of the risks of like a human blood or
Yeah, I
a
think that's
plasma.
important for
Yeah.
patients to understand is you're not getting injected with somebody else's amniotic
No.
fluid. Right.
No, no,
Mhm.
right.
Yep. Okay, we're back from our flashback. Now let's dive into what's below the dermis. We have the subcutaneous tissue, and that is our cushion. And so that is basically the subcutaneous fat. It insulates, it cushions, and it contributes to the contour of our body and our face. Ways that we can help restore that level of cushion and that support underneath our skin is really with hyaluronic acid fillers or biostimulatory fillers. And if you were listening recently, we just had a conversation on a previous podcast about fillers as well. And so, how those do promote structure, and we want to make sure that they're placed really well and that we don't have any risks with that placement by using somebody that's a really trusted and trained injector. But the way that we can, again, support volume loss is with these types of fillers. Your skin is horny, but it's also hosting a party. Some would argue this is the fifth layer of your skin, and it is the microbiome layer. And the microbiome layer is bacteria and yeast and things that are just kind of living on the surface of our skin happily, and our skin just kind of lets it because it's not necessarily invading it, right? But when there's barrier dysfunction, when there are little cracks and crevices and openings in the skin, then those microbes can get in and under the surface and they can cause problems. But normally they're just kind of happily living there. Maybe they compete with other pathogens. They help regulate other immune responses. But when they are allowed in because we have barrier dysfunction, then they can cause things like seborrheic dermatitis, acne, and even really affect people with eczema. So, yes, your skin is horny, but it's also layered, intelligent, and regenerative. There's different layers which require different solutions. You're not going to find this one stop shop cream that's going to hit all those different layers. And so that's why maybe when you go into your dermatologist, they're going to talk to you potentially about things that are considered cosmetic and that your insurance isn't going to want to cover. And so you're going to hear them talk about lasers for tightening the skin and reducing wrinkles. You're going to maybe hear them talk about fillers that are going to help support the that deep layer and that structure in our face. And there are some instances where fillers are covered, in people, there's certain medical conditions like HIV where people's subcutaneous fat is just a little bit melted away and lessens over time. And so in that case, fillers are used to rebuild that structure in the face. But for the most part, it's going to be considered a cosmetic procedure, and you definitely want to find somebody that is trained in that and that you feel comfortable with. Thanks so much for spending time with me today on Derm Clarity, Poor Decisions, and Flake News. My goal is simple: to help you understand your skin so that you can make more confident, informed decisions. Because at the end of the day, better skin starts with better understanding. And here on Derm Clarity, we're all about making better, poor decisions without the flake news. When you understand your skin and stop guessing, that's when clarity begins. Because great skin isn't just about what you put on it, it's also about what's happening underneath. If you have any ideas for podcasts that I can do, guests that you'd like me to bring on, things that you'd like to learn more about, put those in the comments. And thanks for hanging out with me on Derm Clarity, Poor Decisions, and Flake News. I'll see you next time.